Welcome back. So just how dangerous is it to ride a motorcycle in Florida? According to the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, in 2015, there were more than 10,000 motorcycle crashes. 546 of them were fatal. The Centers for Disease Control reports helmets reduced the risk of death by 37% and the risk of head injury by 69%. And joining us for more on bikers wearing helmets is Jim Gillette, founder of Ride Safe USA Sarasota, Dr. Alan Brockhurst, medical director of the Trauma Center at Sarasota Memorial Hospital, and joining us by Skype is Lynn McChristian, Florida representative for the Insurance Information Institute. Thank you all for joining us, and Jim, thank you for bringing props. That's always good.
You're quite welcome.
Lynn, let me start with you because part of the law that is being proposed is because of the impact it is having on the insurance industry and the premiums of all of us who pay premiums. Could you explain that a little bit?
Sure. All insurance is the cost of claims. So when you have claims rising and injuries rising, that raises the price of insurance. So as there's more fatalities, more accidents, more injuries, that's increasing the price that everyone pays for insurance. So to have measures in place to lower those tragedies, that's a good thing that will help lower the cost of insurance.
Jim, this law was changed 16 years ago before it was mandatory. Did we not know back then that this would likely happen?
We should have known. And it was assumed that riding behavior would not necessarily translate to as many accidents as we do have. We failed to look at rider behavior at the time.
Bring us back then. I remember the argument. I was working in Florida then, and I seem to remember that it was about freedom, about getting out on the open road and letting, as we said, the wind blow back your hair.
This was all about choice, our rights to choose and not have the government dictate.
But there was a downside to that.
There was indeed.
Okay. Doctor, you see that downside every day, and you are a motorcycle rider yourself.
I am.
How often do you see accidents in the ER that a helmet would have made the difference?
I think that it's fairly frequent. We've seen around 220 motorcycle accidents since Sarasota became a trauma center. So some of them are routine where the trauma service is not even involved, but most of them that we've seen are more serious. And in general, the head protection would help.
Are you able to quantify or characterize the difference between someone who had a motorcycle accident wearing a helmet and the impact if they're not?
I don't think that, again, there's that hard data out there. I don't have that kind of on the tip of my tongue, but, it definitely makes a difference, especially at the higher speeds.
Lynn, is that something that you keep track of?
We don't keep track of it, but the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration does, and they have data on their website that shows that helmets do make a difference. They're the difference between people being able to walk away and to recover from a traffic crash. So they do make a difference, and there's data that shows that helmets on average can save, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, they can save several hundred lives a year. Over 700 was the last number that I saw.
And Jim, you teach motorcycle safety.
Yes, I do.
It's mandatory.
Absolutely.
Do you have a position on helmets?
I have a position because based on the National Highway Traffic Safety studies, we found or have learned that 37% of the time, the operator's life would have been spared or could have been spared if he or she had used a helmet, and 41% of the time, the passenger would have survived. So therefore, as far as we're concerned, in traffic, the minute you are in traffic and exposed to other riders and the elements, you should wear a helmet.
Briefly, what kind of feedback or pushback do you get from your students?
From my students during the course, I don't get any pushback, simply because in order to take the class that is required by the state of Florida, you have to have proper gear. The state mandates that every student is properly attired.
So nobody says, well, I'll do that for your class, but when I'm out of here, I'm going to take it off?
We do hear that on occasion.
Okay. We are just getting started with this conversation. More on requiring bikers to wear helmets is coming up, along with a check on our weather forecast, so stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing new legislation to require motorcycle and moped riders in Florida to wear helmets. Our guests tonight are Jim Gillette of Ride Safe USA Sarasota, Dr. Alan Brockhurst of Sarasota Memorial Hospital, and joining us by Skype is Lynn McChristian of the Insurance Information Institute. Doctor, we've been talking about the numbers, but let our viewers know on a practical basis, how often do you see trauma coming through your emergency room associated with motorcycle accidents?
It's fairly frequent. Our numbers for the past year are around 2,500 traumas that we saw in a one-year time span. About half, roughly, are falls, about 25% are motor vehicles, and around 22% are motorcycles. So from what we see compared to how many cars are on the road to how many motorcycles are on the road, obviously there's far fewer motorcycles, but they're more severely injured, which is why I end up seeing them.
And you are coming right from a motorcycle accident case.
Yep, just came from one, exactly.
Serious.
Yeah, it's very serious.
I hope they're okay. Jim, you have brought some props, and they are helmets, but they are different. Could you describe them?
Indeed. The different helmets that we brought, one of them is a full face helmet, which provides the best protection for your face and your lower jaw. Then we have a 3/4 helmet, which obviously doesn't protect your chin area that much. And then we have a shorty, which is frequently used, especially when it's hot. People complain about it being so hot, so this is another option that you may have. However, all three of these are DOT approved helmets versus the last that some diehard non-users wish to wear for protection, which is the headscarf.
You do realize you're getting some people angry out there.
I may. However, it's kind of obvious when we look at these three and then look at the headscarf, which might give you the best protection.
Lynn, does the industry have a position in terms of people who have insurance, whether or not that they wear helmets or can show that they have purchased helmets in terms of their insurance premiums?
They don't have a position right now. They follow what the state law is. Insurance is regulated by the state. So we'll do whatever the law says. But one of the points you brought up early in the broadcast I think is really important is the absence of liability insurance for motorcycle riders. So if you're required to just get the $10,000 for medical payments if you're injured and you don't get liability, if you cause an accident and cause damage to somebody else's property, without liability insurance, all that expense is on your dime. So insurance is really important for your liability proportion to protect your finances, and that's something that everybody should know.
Does your organization have a position on the current bill?
We don't. We do not lobby. We're strictly educational. We want people to know what their risks are and take the measures to protect themselves and to protect their finances. That's what we do.
Let's play devil's advocate for a moment. As I was saying, that the bill was changed, or the law was changed 16 years ago for a reason. It came at a time when there was a lot of deregulation. We also got rid of auto emissions here in Florida because people want to have the ability to make these decisions for themselves. So for those who steadfastly believe that, what would you say to them, Doctor?
I would just say that the statistics aren't on their side, and they're kind of taking their lives in their hands. Again, a lot of people, the earlier segment with the Chief Pelfrey, I'm a motorcycle rider, as I said earlier. Very often debris hits the windshield of your car and cracks it. I personally would not want that to hit my face, so I wear the full face shield. When we look at the statistics of where the impact to the head occurs, about 20% of it's to the lower jaw. So even the half face or the kind of turtle shell helmet is not enough protection.
One might say, Jim, or one might ask that if you're in a severe crash, a helmet is only going to protect you that much. I'm sure that's what a lot of people at home are saying right now. How would you respond?
Indeed, it is suggested that the helmet may save your life only 37% of the time, but I'd like to be among that 37 percentile. Aside from that, what I think may be brought into discussion is whenever a motorcyclist gets on their motorcycle and they go for a ride, they're never alone. They may not have a physical passenger, but they have other stakeholders. So they want to protect themselves, and the other stakeholders really are family, friends, significant others, mothers, fathers, daughters. So when you look at it as whenever you go on a ride, you're impacting other stakeholders, you may want to protect yourself.
Have you seen attitudes change over the years?
I can't say that I have seen attitudes change, but education does help. I've had several students over the past nearly 8 years give me a call or send me an email, say, hey, you know what, we really appreciated the segment that you spent with us on safety and all the gear all the time. And it has changed some of them to a favorable.
And Lynn, you
yes.
said that the industry itself has to abide by state rules in whatever states, but you know, like with your automobile insurance, we see it all the time. If you you know, plug a certain thing into your car, you get a break on your insurance program. We have these things going on. If you get certain educational classes, you also get breaks. Is there any effort within the industry to do these kinds of things, not only to lower insurance premiums, but also protect the health and safety of motorcycle riders?
Insurance companies are all about education. You can't go to any insurer's website without finding easily available all the information, all the education, all the rationale to do things to protect yourself. So they really do spend a lot of time educating people about that risk. But to be able to force people to do that, again, it's up to the law, and the insurance companies will follow that law, but they'll offer a product to help people protect themselves and to protect their finances. That's what the insurance products are for.
And gentlemen, let me ask you this question. If this law gets passed and we have no idea what will happen, and you know, it's being proposed by a Republican member of the State House, you have a Republican legislature here, so, but we still don't know what impediments that there will be. Would you expect there to be a significant impact in terms of the numbers of injuries and fatalities in Florida?
I would expect that if helmets are reenacted, there'd probably be less fatalities. I think the data is clear on that. There's just as many motorcycle crashes, but the nature of the head injury and the C-spine injuries are less if you're wearing a helmet.
What are the most prevalent injuries in a serious motorcycle accident?
Brain injury, traumatic brain injury, and then probably cervical spine and pelvis. Pelvises are injured because of the kind of rapid deceleration hitting the gas tank on the motorcycle.
You know, it just occurred to me. We don't let football players go out on the field without a helmet, and we still have a problem with concussions with football players. Yet we do let people go out on motorcycles driving, you know, 70 to, let's say 70 miles an hour, but it's, you know, it's not mandatory. There's a little irony there.
Correct.
One of my nurse practitioners used to say, they make us wear a seatbelt in the car, but you can sit on the roof of your car on a motorcycle with not wearing a helmet. So it doesn't make any sense.
Right. So again, if you're involved within the motorcycle community, what kind of pushback do you see out there in terms of wearing helmets these days?
As far as pushback is concerned, you'll always have the diehard rider that doesn't think that they need to wear a helmet because for the past 10, 20, 30 years of their riding experience, they've not been subject to an incident. That means during the times where they were not paying attention, everyone else was watching out for them. That's the unfortunate mindset.
Right. And Lynn, we have less than a minute left, but I want to ask you this. Is there a way to quantify the impact in terms of our insurance premiums for people who do not ride motorcycles but are in effect paying for those who do, who have unfortunate accidents?
Well, some of that winds up being social insurance. So you have trauma centers that might have to take people and take care of them who don't have any insurance, and that's something everybody pays. So again, if people paid and were responsible for their own safety, their own driving behavior, that would lower the cost of insurance for everybody.
Okay, let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, plus what some of our viewers are saying about the story that was in the news today. Welcome back. Should motorcycle and moped riders be required to wear helmets? It could happen in Florida if a new bill becomes law. Our guests join us now for final thoughts on the proposal. So, Lynn, make your case.
Well, there's a risk involved with riding without a helmet, and is that risk something that you're going to want to do and to pay for it with your life or with a serious injury. So it's about the risk.
Jim, you teach motorcycle safety. What do you tell your students?
Simply the fact that 37% of the time a fatality can be prevented by way of using a helmet. I think that you should think of the other stakeholders in your life aside from yourself and make the right choice. Protect yourself as much as you can.
Jim, Doctor, you're in the most interesting position because you're a motorcycle rider yourself, but you live this every single day in your emergency room. And so what do you want people to keep in mind?
I would say enjoy your motorcycle, have fun, but be safe. Wear the helmet and as much protective gear as possible. It may save your life.
And you see that every day. I mean, you see, fortunately, many accidents are not serious, but you see people who don't come out of it alive.
Yes.
And there's no doubt in your mind that wearing one of these helmets could basically, mean less fatalities.
Absolutely. I've seen it both in my patients, and again, I have friends that are motorcycle riders that have accidents, and many of them, all of them are alive that crash because of their helmet.
Okay, thank you all very much. Before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers are saying about our lead story last night. A 65-year-old woman was shot and killed in Parrish after driving her car through the property gates of a military veteran. The woman's family says she was trying to get her dog back, which was given to the man by her estranged husband. The shooter is now facing charges of second-degree murder. The story has gone viral across the country and around the world. Here is what some of our viewers are saying. Mish Seri writes, "You have the right to stand your ground everywhere in Florida, not just within your home. The law was changed several years ago. If they ram through a locked gate, shame on them." Lauren Ann writes, "People go down there, get away with shootings all the time with that lovely stand your ground law. An 83-year-old man shoots at a car that comes smashing through his gate, and he goes to jail." And Rosemary Albee writes, "Sorry, but you crashed through my gate. You get what you deserve. Let the military vet go." Well, if you'd like to join the conversation about tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And FYI, want to watch past Roundtable discussions? They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Thanks for our guests for being here tonight. Jim Gillette is the founder of Ride Safe USA Sarasota. Dr. Alan Brockhurst is Medical Director for the Trauma Center at Sarasota Memorial Hospital, and Lynn McChristian is the Florida representative for the Insurance Information Institute.